Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unnamed Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan. I'm joined by my co hosts, Jason and Jerry. What's up, fellas?
What it do?
What
What it
is up?
do?
What is up? What's going on, guys?
Just getting ready for Super Wild Card Weekend coming up this weekend, and both of you guys are coming into Columbus. Well, Jason,
Yes.
you live in Columbus,
I'm already here.
but probably I shouldn't say where we don't know where we live. It could be
Columbus,
Columbus,
Georgia.
Georgia. um, but
So
before we get into the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on our social media at Unnamed Sports S. We're on TikTok, Instagram, uh, X, formerly known as Twitter. And again, after this show, if you got to go away, come back, whatever. If you want the full show to be uploaded on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast, again, please leave us a like, a review, let us know how we're doing, and we appreciate the audience. But let's jump right in, folks. What a crazy week 18! Lots of highs, lots of lows.
many
Jason,
lows.
A lot of lows.
it's a lot of lows. All three of our teams lost this weekend, actually. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, but only one mattered.
had
All right,
implications.
Yeah.
only one mattered. And do you mind if I take the floor and do my little rant?
Do you want to do it now, or you want to do it in
Yeah,
chronological
yeah. No,
order?
you're right. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, we'll get to build up to it. Build up to it. I'm gonna give you some extra ammunition because I'm gonna start with Jerry, and you can do the second game. But starting
A
off on
little salt in the
Saturday,
wound. I
to
like it.
recap
It's
a
not
crazy week 18 where half the games mattered, half the games didn't. Starting off on Saturday with one that did end up mattering. We had the Steelers take on the Ravens, a battle of Mason Rudolph versus Tyler Huntley. It's a battle for the ages. Now, it was traditional AFC North football. The weather was bad, a lot of running, not very sloppy game overall. Steelers end up on top 17-10. Jerry, what'd you take away from that game? Uh, that very first for the week 18.
Yeah, I mean, only takeaway from the game really is that the Steelers are limping into the playoffs. They beat a Ravens team that pretty much played zero starters. Barely beat them, by one score. I, they're gonna have a tough week coming up, but yeah, they're in the playoffs. That's all I got. So,
Mike
but they made it.
Tomlin rolled out his voodoo magic that they went above 500 and they went 10-7 and they backdoor slid into the playoffs. Pretty absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But the Steelers are in. And to be fair,
To be
to be
fair,
fair.
the Steelers are the last team that anybody in the AFC North wants to see. Because for whatever reason, the Steelers they're undefeated in the AFC North this year. They are six. They went 6-0 in the division. Now, part of that was against a Ravens team with Tyler Huntley and against um, Jake Browning twice,
yeah,
but it was still 6-0. And one
they
of them was against a
still,
Deshaun
yeah,
Watson, Nick Chubb having Browns team. So, I mean, this is a team that now that they're in the playoffs, if they can find a way to win the first round, they will be playing the Ravens, and
Mm,
hey,
anything can happen.
they beat a
They
fully
beat them.
staffed Ravens team earlier in the year too. Now
Yeah.
without T.J. Watt, they could have some issues. We'll
Hmm.
see how
And we'll
long it
get
takes
into
him to get
that.
back, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll get into that later. But having said that, it's not a team that, as a Cleveland Browns fan, I wanted to see in the postseason. Moving on to the next game, the exciting game, really the first round of the playoffs for both of these teams because it was a true win and end, and little did they know win the division game. Jason, what did you see in the Texans Colts game and the eventual AFC South champions?
pain. So much pain. Okay. Anyways, what I really saw from that game though is a CJ Stroud that is here to stay. I think he stepped up to the plate when he needed to and ended up winning the game for them. The Texans are a solid team. They do have obviously some rough patches here and there, but very young, um, all around rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, defense probably defensive rookie of the year as well, and then all those guys playing lights out, giving it their best effort to win the game. it was an interesting game to watch.
That very first play from the Texans offense being a 75-yard bomb for the
Bombed it.
touchdown to
Nico.
Nico Collins
Yeah,
was
Yeah,
freaking ridiculous.
pretty awesome.
Also,
crazy.
Ohio State to Michigan, kind of gross too, a little bit. Come on,
Disgusting.
CJ, what are we doing? But it's actually kind of funny. CJ was talking about it. Nico Collins never beat Ohio State, and CJ has
Yeah,
never beaten
never.
Michigan.
Yeah,
And now they're throwing the ball to each other.
Hmm.
So was Collins there when Denzel Ward was there
I believe so.
at
Yeah,
OSU?
I think it was
Interesting.
like on his way out.
Like way out, he
Mm.
was coming in. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. Just curious about this upcoming matchup. Anyway, moving on. Buccaneers, Panthers. Weird game. Buccaneers win 9-0. Panthers shutout 2 weeks in a row, and they will end the season not having scored for the entire last month of the season, which is pretty absurd. I don't think Tepper's throwing drinks on anyone anymore, but the the Buccaneers looked relatively sluggish on offense. Their defense looked great. The one play the Panthers did have, the should have been Pro Bowler Antoine Winfield knocked the ball out of DJ Chark's hands for recovery by the Buccaneers. What a play by him to really potentially save the game.
Mhm.
mhm,
And Baker Mayfield takes the Buccaneers 9-8, takes them to a AFC South, or I'm sorry, NFC South championship, as well as a playoff appearance. And who knows what can happen now that you're in the dance? You have a lot of players on that team who have won a Super Bowl, so you
Yep.
never know what could happen. It'll be interesting to watch. Browns Bengals. That game meant nothing. It was the Bengals against the Browns third stringers, really, because everyone. That's a second stringer or first stringers injured, and our second stringers were being we're sitting as our fifth starting quarterback, so that game doesn't matter. Another game didn't matter. Vikings Lions. Lions beat the Vikings 30-20. It mattered in the sense that the Vikings could have potentially backdoored their way with a couple losses, but at the end of the day, the Lions had their seed locked in as long as the Cowboys. I really don't want to focus too much on that game. It wasn't
right.
that important. If either of you have anything you want to jump in and say, I
Nope.
mean, but it was
Nope.
kind of one of those like,
Yeah.
yep, the Lions won.
Yep.
Jets Patriots. This one actually was somewhat important in that it's potentially Bill Belichick's last game as a New England Patriot head coach. Jerry, what did you make of this game? And I mean, it's 17-3. It was in the snow. It
The weather.
was,
Yeah.
it was, again, two teams that aren't going to be talked about until the offseason again, but may have been one of the greatest coaches of all time's last stop with the Patriots. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, Brady leaving. That's the end of the dynasty with the Patriots. I think if Belichick truly leaves or gets fired, whatever happens, that is truly the end of the dynasty for the Patriots. It is no more. They'll be, they got the third pick coming up in the draft. They'll be starting fresh, probably looking to trade up to maybe get Caleb Williams. If not, probably take Drake May, that second spot, but they're going to have to trade up either way. But yeah, I mean, what a hell of a run by Belichick. I wouldn't be surprised to see him land on his feet somewhere else, maybe with the Commanders or the Chargers.
All right, pick one. Where's he
Yeah.
going next?
Chargers. Unfortunately, I'm going to have Andy Reid and Bill Belichick in my division, have to play against both of them twice per year. But
Lovely.
give it the Chargers.
Jason, where's he going?
Jason, can't hear you. Muted.
Yeah, you're muted, bud.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Chargers. Definitely the Chargers. He's going to be the GM and the head coach there. So that
You think
gives
they're
me
going to give him another GM spot?
absolutely, absolutely. That's the only way he accepts the job. I think, in my opinion.
Really?
I
I
don't know
think
if
that
he deserves it, but
I wouldn't. I would say there's a reason you got fired from the Patriots, and it's because you couldn't put together a roster, not because you can't coach.
That's
fair.
yeah.
I do understand what you're saying. I don't think that guy is going anywhere without having the promise of being the GM for a team as well.
My only curveball to that would be that the would the Chargers rather hire a GM to come in with Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick to come be GM coach?
I think that another team is going to get Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion. Here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest thing. The
Isn't
Chargers
that
are
the
kind of
most enticing job though? When you say the Chargers is the most enticing job in the entire
coaching wise, but here's the issue with the. I
The
don't think a
Falcons. I think the Falcons is up there too.
Falcon. That's what. Let me speak. Let me speak.
It's
The
my
Chargers.
turn.
The Chargers have the best players on their team. Correct. Yes, but to be a GM and have to go into this team and fix that cap room, that's going to be a terrible job. That's absolutely not going to be fun. So I think you give Bill Belichick the GM role to draft his own players, but you accounting wise, there's someone else crunching numbers and stuff. I don't think Bill Belichick is necessarily going to be the guy for that, right? So you have someone else, an executive or just someone, an accountant, whoever is handling the money side of it. I don't think a normal GM wants to go in there and handle that situation where the Falcons have more cap room, the Raiders have a little bit more cap room, and yeah, they need a quarterback probably in each situation, but there's still young players that are on that team that are willing to play well or will play well for you.
My only contention with that is I have a hard time looking at a team like the Chargers and going, they're not ready to win now. I mean, they have a top 10 quarterback, a top 10 running back, a decent offensive line, a good defensive line. They got playmakers everywhere. If you bring in someone that knows what they're doing coaching, I don't see why they couldn't make a run at the AFC West. So if you bring
Yeah,
in someone like Jim Harbaugh, who is a good coach, unfortunately, it's gross coming out of my mouth, but he is a good coach, and we'll talk about him maybe a little bit. I don't know if we're talking college football at all today, but we probably should
I
at
think that's
least for a
pretty, yeah,
second.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
definitely.
he is a very good coach, and he's someone that can turn a program around. And if you have the players, I mean, why not? I don't know. That would be
Yeah.
my only contention.
I mean,
Yeah,
on
Um,
paper, the Chargers have one of the best rosters in the NFL. Like
yeah,
they are loaded, but they
right.
just can't put it together because of coaching. So we'll see what happens.
I think
we
it's a
will.
lot of coaching and injuries as well, so we'll see how that goes.
We will. Moving on, Saints Falcons, a game that had some interesting an interesting ending. It was tied 17-17 at halftime. Game ends 48-17 Saints. Saints barely missed the playoffs simply because the Packers won. Well, I guess the Seahawks would have had to lose too.
Mm.
So two teams would have had to lose for the Saints to make it in, or the Buccaneers lose and they would have won the division. But inevitably, that didn't end up happening. Into the game, Saints are in victory formation, and Jameis Winston in the huddle, and the rest of the team decide to audible to give Jamal Williams a touchdown to run up the score with no time left on the clock. Artie Smith comes out cussing him out. Jerry, what would you make of that entire situation? And what do you think the Saints like? I'll pose this question to you: does that show a little bit of lack of control of your locker room if your players are overriding your decision at the end of a game and handing it off?
Oh,
Or is it
absolutely.
just one of those situations where Jameis Winston made a decision and, whatever, it's not a big deal? What do
No,
you make of it?
I think he's definitely lost control of that locker room if players are doing that. Um, Clearly, it's a sign of respect at the end of a game when you come out in victory formation. You know, you need the ball. It's game over, whatever. I understand why the players did it, and I don't necessarily disagree with the team, making the decision to give a touchdown to Jamal Williams, but shouldn't have done it in victory formation. And their coach has got to put a lock on that locker room, man. He's got to get a hold of it because that is absolutely ridiculous. If your team is kind of going against what you're saying, um, I honestly thought he was going to be fired yesterday, 2 days ago. I'm surprised he hasn't been yet, but
Because of
yeah,
that?
no, I just don't think he's a good coach. I don't think he utilizes his players correctly. Their offense has had ebbs and flows all season long. It's just one of the most boring teams to watch all season long. No energy whatsoever. I don't think he's a good coach, and clearly, you can't even win the NFC South, the worst division in football.
The
Missing the
worst.
playoffs. They missed the playoffs last year. Yeah, 2 years, 3 years in a row. So
Hmm.
He's just not a good coach. He needs out of there. They need something else, and they need to start Jameis Winston. Damn it, get Derek Carr out of there. He sucks.
I mean, Jameis Winston's calling his own plays on kneel outs. I don't know if that's who you want running your team, but he is more entertaining. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on, next game, Jason, I give you the floor. Titans win 28-20, and I just want you to just go ahead and say what you have to say.
I'm just kidding. All right.
Burn the jersey live on stream right now.
You give me $200 for it, I'll do it. All right. What I would like to say is, sorry, Derrick Henry. I forgot. I hadn't watched your highlight tape in a while. Forgot you were my dad. Forgot you were this team's dad. Father. I'm sorry. All right. Please leave. Never come back to Tennessee. I'm tired of that, man. Well, that's too dang bad, Grandpa. Anyways, tired of that, man. Stiff arming my team all the way to infinity, trucking everybody, running for 59 yards, breaking every play. Like, can we tackle? We spent how many picks on linebackers? We pick up Rashawn Jenkins, safety. We get some defensive tackles. Can someone tackle the man? Please. I'm begging. I'm not begging anymore because he's gone, but like, for the love of everything, like, it should not be that hard.
Watch he goes plays for the Texans.
He's going to go play for the Eagles. Please. Get out of my division. Get out of my conference. Just get out of the AFC totally. Please.
Good play for the Texans.
We actually play the Eagles.
Amazing.
We actually play the Eagles next year. The two teams that actually, I'm pretty sure we play the Bears too. So like the two teams that he could join, I'm probably going to play him next year anyways.
Oh no.
All right. The game. Other than just getting humiliated for the umpteenth time by Derrick Henry, I don't want to blame Trevor Lawrence because I think too many people scapegoat him for this season. I watched a 2-minute highlight of drop touchdown passes from a 2-minute highlight of drop touchdown passes from wide receivers. That can't happen. You shouldn't have a highlight. You shouldn't have a mixtape for drop touchdown passes that's longer than hopefully 30 seconds. If it's 2 minutes long, we got a problem elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I think maybe the Chiefs might be the only team that have you beat. Drop touchdown passes.
Probably a 5-minute highlight. But go ahead.
Yeah. Quick question on that specifically. That pass on, I want to say it was a second or third down to Calvin Ridley. Is that Calvin Ridley or is that Trevor Lawrence?
I think that's Calvin Ridley. In my opinion, that's positioning and locating the ball in the air. Like, yes, could have been a better throw. Absolutely. Is Calvin Ridley pro enough to make that catch? 1,000%. Like he should be able to locate the ball in the air faster and get to that ball. Now, another big thing, other than Trevor Lawrence, is by God that offensive line is atrocious. Our center is easily the worst center in the league. Starting, bench, whatever. Easily. I've seen that man get... So, one thing I will say about Trevor Lawrence in that game, he called his own play. Supposedly, he didn't tell anyone else. So, our left guard is pulling for a QB jump over the pile. There's no reason for a left guard to be pulling on that play. Zero reason. It should all be fire out, everyone low chop block, and him just jumping over everyone. Center gets pushed back 5 yards. Left guard is pulling. Blown up. Cradle position. Jeffrey Simmons is a guy, okay, but you have to be able to snap the ball and at least hold your ground. Okay, you don't get yards, fine. We can work with that. He jumps over, we're fine. Trevor Lawrence is like legs 5 feet behind him, trying to jump over the ball because the center's in his fucking words in his lap. In his lap after the snap of the ball. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Like
profanity.
My grandma's watching this.
Sorry,
So
Grandma.
please watch out for
I
that.
stopped. I stopped. I stopped.
No,
I
you
didn't say it.
didn't.
Yes. Yes, I did. Hey, check the tape. Check the tape.
Too bad.
Look,
We can't. Continue.
ugh. Your our center should not be in our quarterback slap after the snap of the ball. Our left guard should not be pulling on a QB, whatever you want to call that play, Superman play. Right guard, Sharif, it's time to hang him up, brother. It's time to hang it up, brother. It ain't the same. Tackles we can work with. I don't like Cam Robinson that much. I think Anton Harrison has improved throughout the year and is willing and is going to be a good piece for us. We got a lot to work on the front five. Fix that. You can bring Calvin Ridley back. Don't bring Calvin Ridley back, honestly. It wasn't worth the money. Compared Calvin Ridley is worth the money. What Christian Kirk brings for the team is the exact same thing that Calvin Ridley brings. I don't think we need the same player twice. You bring back Josh Allen. You re-sign, give an extension to Trevor Lawrence, and you fix your offensive line, and we have a playoff team again, and we are competing for the Super Bowl. We need to figure out. They fired our defensive coordinator. I don't know if it's really his fault. I think personally it's Trent Baalke's fault. Some things he does is great. Some things he does is just it doesn't make sense. You need to prepare for injuries. You need to prepare your team for depth. You need to have depth. Look at the Browns. Look at every team that has injuries. You have and plays well. You have to prepare for depth, and we're
You
just not there. We're not there.
at the moment, but there's always next year. There's always next year. Jerry's singing the same tune
Yeah.
about his Broncos, but
Ryan, I would like to pose a hypothetical question to you just real quick.
yeah,
Do you think it's more embarrassing to miss the playoffs because you lose to a division rival in a terrible game or get bounced in the first round at home against a team that's playing their second and third strings because they're all injured?
I think
All
it's
the
more
starters are injured.
embarrassing. I think what the Jags did is more embarrassing than if the Texans lose.
Facts.
That is the incorrect answer. The correct
That is the
answer
correct
The
answer.
correct answer is it's more embarrassing to have your quarterback be so mid that you guys can't even make the playoffs and you guys are going to move to London and become the London Jaguars.
I just said that was that
Yes.
wasn't an option. I answered the question. What a dumbly posed question. It is more embarrassing that the Jags lost to the Titans than it is if the Cleveland Browns bounced the Texans in the first round.
Thank you. Wait. Why am I saying thank you to that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why?
But it's true.
It
That's
is
the
true.
problem.
You lost to a 5-win team in the Titans. Okay, that just fired their head coach.
Look,
You
look,
just
look, look,
lost to
look,
the
look, look,
Titans.
look, look, look.
Y'all are
No,
gonna
I
Hey,
be
they
already
should.
looked. I already
drinking
looked. The
tea
final
and
score
eating
28-20.
crumpets in
They
England, dog.
lost. They're not
All right,
winning
just see me at Ryan's house, chugging all the
anymore.
Hennessy bottles I can. All right, that
This is a
that's
family-friendly show. We don't talk about
This
alcohol consumption. You must be 21 years or older. All right. We've spent a lot of time talking about the Jags, who have literally no future for the next couple weeks. So I don't know why we've. I'm just kidding, Jason. But uh, uh, I
London
know, just pain,
calling.
just pain. Moving on. I am sorry about your Jaguars. It does. Dang.
just kidding.
Okay. Anyway. Um, what a wild turn of events, the Jaguars losing, because that ensured that the Bills and the Steelers made it. Now the Bills ended up winning, which means that they would have made it anyway. But we knew after that game, after the 1 o'clock slate, what the entire picture of the AFC was, just not what the whole seeding was going to be. But let's move on back to the NFC. Seahawks beat the Cardinals in a game that ended up meaning nothing. I think the only thing that you really take away from this game is that the Cardinals have looked much better during the back half of the season. I think Jonathan Gannon is a pretty decent head coach, even though he does not know how to hype up his players and he's extremely awkward. I think he's a very good good coach, and I think it just shows how much better a team can be when you have a dynamic quarterback like Kyler Murray back there,
Mhm.
as opposed to people like Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. The next game, Bears Packers. This game did end up meaning a good amount. Packers beat the Bears 17-9. Packers have not lost to the Bears under Matt LaFleur's tenure as head coach. Jerry, quickly here so we can finish up our recap, at least, try to get done in 30 minutes. What did you take away from this game? Packers earn their way into the playoffs with the win over the Bears.
Tell them to bring me my money because I got this one right last week. I called Packers beating the Bears. They beat them every year. The Packers are the Bears' daddies. Something I
Lots
just
of dad
realized.
references on this show today.
I mean, they are. It's whatever. But something I just realized today, I was looking at some stats. Jordan Love is like top 5 in passing yards this year. He's having one heck of a year.
Yeah, and he's like number 2 in passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I knew he was playing well. I didn't realize he was playing that well. I mean, the Bears decided that they're keeping Eberflus. I'm really shocked by it. They fired pretty much everybody else. Why wouldn't you send the coach along with them, kind of start fresh? Be interesting to see what they do in the draft with Caleb Williams and that number 1 pick that they got from the Panthers, to see if they keep Justin Fields. Packers are dangerous. Their offense is dangerous. Their defense is not. Their defense is not. They did put the clamps on the Bears this weekend. They got a tough matchup coming up. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
Next game. Well, and just to finish up the recap there, I think the Bears had a golden opportunity for Justin Fields to earn his starting spot for next year by beating the division rival, and he looked very mediocre in that game, unfortunately, against a defense that let Baker Mayfield be the only opposing quarterback in history to have a perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field.
Mhm.
So that's how bad that defense, and throw for nearly 400 yards. That's how bad that defense is. So, unfortunately, I think Justin Fields is out for as much as we are fans of him. Next game, Chiefs Chargers. The game meant literally nothing. The Chiefs were locked in at the 3 seed and they played their backups, and the Chargers have a guy named Easton Stick, whatever that is, starting at quarterback. Chiefs end up winning by 1. Not much on that game. Again, another game that means nothing except for a touch of momentum for the Raiders going into next year, and I would imagine confirmation that Pierce is getting hired as the head coach. Is that correct? Have that been confirmed or not?
No, Andy's getting offers from other teams too.
Yeah, he
So
should be.
yeah,
He should
100%.
be, and he wants to be in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah,
So,
Yeah.
I agree.
Jerry, I'm sorry, I know I'm going back to you back to back times, but what do you think of the Broncos, real quick, at the end of the season here to finish up?
Yeah, I mean, season was over when we benched Russ. We all kind of knew that. Unfortunately, I mean, we did have a chance to make the playoffs at the time, but it ended up not mattering because Chiefs went out, and then the Steelers and Bills both went out, so it didn't matter. I mean, in the end, it's better that we lost. Better draft position. Maybe we can trade up, get somebody. I'm hoping Michael Penix or Jaden Daniels. I'll take Bo Nix. I'll take Justin Fields if the Bears want to let him go, but that'd be an interesting one. But yeah, looking forward to next season.
Eagles lose to the Giants. What? Eagles have been they started out 10-1, they finished 1-5. They have been on a steep and steady decline. Jason, Eagles, what is happening?
Teams not playing together. I think they're kind of lost. I mean, you see stuff about AJ Brown. You see stuff about the team not playing. You see Jason Kelsey trying to do a team get together and trying to give motivation for the playoffs, and saying how short time is in the NFL. So I don't think they're motivated. As motivated as they were last year, and as motivated as they were at the beginning of the season. But playoff time, playoff money, a lot of stuff can happen in a week. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting to watch. They have what many would consider to be an easy first round matchup in the Buccaneers. Something else of note, there are people in Philadelphia right now calling for Nick Sirianni's head, which I think is absurd considering they have won 11 games and they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
But to finish 1-5 is pretty terrible. And to lose to the Giants and the Cardinals in that time span is also pretty terrible.
Terrible.
Next up, it was Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold, another game that nobody cared about. Seating positions were already set, and backups were playing. The only thing of note in this game, I believe, was Puka Nakua officially did set the all rookie receiving record. What an accomplishment from a fifth round pick. Um, Real quick, both of you, what does this mean for Puka and for uh, the Rams going forward?
Go ahead,
Go
They
Jay.
have
ahead,
a
Jerry.
start.
Go ahead,
It-
Jerry.
yeah, I mean, it's huge for Puka Nakua. He set the record for both receptions and yards. Correct? Is both of them?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. One heck of a rookie season, especially from a fifth round pick. Nobody expected it. I know it helped that Cooper Cup went down early in the year, but when he came back, Puka Nakua was still cooking. He was
Number
still
one,
cooking.
the number one target. So
Yeah. So it's
J-
awesome, and I'm excited to watch them in the playoffs.
same, same. Jason, what'd you make?
I make that it sucks that
Make of it?
CJ Stroud had to be in this draft class as well because he definitely deserves Rookie of the Year,
Yeah,
but I don't think he'll be able to get it, unfortunately.
it is. It's. I've seen people make arguments for both, and I think there are good arguments for both candidates. I think at the end of the
Sure.
day, though, if you're a quarterback that took a team that won three games last year to a division title, you are the offensive rookie MVP. Moving on, Cowboys solidify their two seed and home for most of the playoffs with a 38-10 absolute butt whooping of the Commanders, a game that was never really much in question, and a Cowboys team that, when they play bad opponents or at home, they seem to play very well. But and now they've secured home field, so they're going to be a tough out. And then last, but certainly not least, a game that decided who was going to be the two seed and who was going to be the six or seven seed. Jason, walk us through to round out week 18 what happened on Sunday Night Football between the Bills and the Dolphins.
Definitely a lot. I would say I didn't see a lot of good things from the Dolphins. Um, Offense didn't look explosive. Maybe it's because they're missing their two key pieces with Moser and Waddle, but you still have Tyreek Hill. You still have A-Kane,
A
A-Chain,
Chan.
Hey, Chan.
A-Chain. And you should be able to pull something together, but I couldn't. The Bills defense stepped up for sure. Josh Allen, I think, was a little bit more relaxed this game. Um, I mean, I think that the Bills are figuring out what team they are still, and they're playing better. So I don't know what we'll see from the Dolphins. Hopefully, they get people back healthy and you see more of an explosive offense. But if not, they're gonna have some issues in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Dolphins, who kind of similar to, I believe it was either last year or 2 years ago, start off again super hot and then cool off very quickly coming down the stretch. And I think it all has to do with the style of offense that they play
Mhm.
and the flashiness from which they play with. On top of that, they've lost like four edge rushers. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to get pressure. And they got a tough matchup against the Chiefs coming up. So, I mean, they're unfortunately a team that seems to be on the decline coming in. I will say the Bills, for I think there's a lot of previous year bias when it comes to people talking about the Bills because when I watch them play, they do not look like a top tier team like they have previously. And I think this is one of the few years where every team seems to have a few flaws, but Josh Allen threw two F it someone's down there interceptions in the red zone. Like you play a team like Baltimore and you throw
Hmm.
two red zone interceptions. You play a team like the
Game over.
49ers. You play a team even like the Lions or the Browns and you throw two red zone interceptions, assuming that they themselves don't give the ball right back. You aren't winning the game. So I have a tough time believing in a team where even still is just like a Josh Allen experience where it's either touchdown or interception, and this year seems to be even more so. But they seem to be running the ball a lot better, so who knows what will happen. But that'll end our recap for Week 18. It only took us 36 minutes this time, but it was an exciting week of games with a lot of implications, and those implications can be shown in this next graphic, which is the official playoff picture. Let's take a look at the AFC. The Ravens have the bye at the 1 seed. The Bills will host the Steelers. The Chiefs will host the Dolphins, and the Texans will host the Browns. And what's interesting too, I've never seen this before, but the games are actually going to be played. The AFC games will be played first, and then on Saturday, and then early Sunday, and then Sunday, Monday will be the NFC games. So it'll start off with Texans or Browns at Texans, followed by Dolphins at Chiefs, exclusively on Peacock.
Oh, Peacock, baby.
So
And
Dumb.
stupid.
then Sunday at 1 o'clock opens with the Steelers and Bills, Steelers at Bills, and then it'll switch over to the NFC playoffs, which are pictured right here. The 1 seed with the bye, you have the 49ers. And then I believe first is the Cowboys Packers. Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
The 4 o'clock window will be the Packers traveling to take on the Dallas Cowboys. The prime time game will be between the Rams and the Lions. Matt Stafford comes home to Detroit for that game. Crazy storylines, and we'll get more into that later in the show. And then the Buccaneers on Monday night will host the over the last 6 weeks 1-5, but overall 11-6 Eagles in Tampa to round out super wild card weekend. Without getting into any of the matchups, which storyline, Jerry, most intriguing this weekend?
It's got to be Matt Stafford returning to Detroit. It's I mean, the trade couldn't have worked out better for both teams. Obviously, Matt Stafford he wins the Super Bowl with the Rams. Jared Goff's playing at a really high level with the Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they were able to get Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft. They look explosive, but Matt Stafford wants to play spoiler and get back to the Super Bowl, wants to win a second one. I can't wait for that matchup.
Jason, while that one may be the most compelling, if let's assume that you actually don't think that's the most compelling, what is the most compelling storyline to you this weekend?
That was mine. But
We gotta be like we gotta be like the shows that you see where miraculously all four people have completely different storylines and players. It's like, yeah, we all know who what the real answer
that's
is,
Yeah.
not live
but
television.
but yes, I
um,
think we all can agree Matt Stafford going back is probably the most compelling storyline. What is the second most compelling storyline to you going into this weekend? You have Mike McCarthy and the Packers, you have Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs, you have Houston and Cleveland with the
I know,
Deshaun Watson trade.
There's a
I
lot of
know.
good storylines this weekend, to be
I
fair.
would say
NFL
Script
scriptwriters
probably
are
writers
pretty
got it
good.
they
right.
did good. They did good. They messed with me, but they
Congratulations.
did good.
It's like
Mike
only
McCarthy with the Pack going against the Packers, I think has to be your second. Old coach for the Packers goes in there, um, helps the Cowboys come into a playoff team, and hopefully we're not going to go see the same Cowboys that we normally see in the playoffs, and they step back up and play well. But I think Mike McCarthy going back to his home is probably your second most compelling.
I would
Compelling.
have to, yeah, I think those are the two most compelling storylines from the weekend. I think the third and fourth with the Tyreek, the only two games that don't have a crazy undercurrent storyline is the Buccaneers, Eagles, and the Steelers, Bills. Those two games are they're going to be good, hard fought, smash mouth football games, but I don't think they have these underlying current. I think between the other two, I may be slightly biased, but I think the Browns Texans game holds just a little bit more, considering the Chiefs have already played the Dolphins this year and they've already had that uh,
True.
the revenge
But
game. Although it was in London, it
Yeah.
wasn't in Arrowhead,
Yeah.
so that
mhm,
adds some. And then I think the Texans and Browns will also have played, having played already this year. You don't quite have the same storyline as a playoff game between now. If Deshaun Watson was our quarterback, this would be the
number
number
two.
two
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
storyline
Yeah.
in the entire thing.
yeah.
But he's not. It's Joe Flacco, and even that in itself, I think, is compelling because the Browns are playing the Texans in the playoffs after a massive blockbuster trade, and it's not the guy that we traded for and paid $230 million to. So I think all of that makes for super wild card weekend to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Now, we'll get into it, but next week there could be some good storylines too. There's some really good storylines. We'll get into it, but
Coming up,
yeah,
coming up. It's it's I don't know if it's just as you get older, you start to like remember, but this seems to me to be one of the most exciting playoff uh just settings and just total overall like postseasons that I've ever been that I remember.
it,
And part of it obviously Cleveland's in it and Cleveland's not normally in it, so that adds to it. But I think the storylines and the way that this year has gone just adds to it.
I think this year the storylines obviously, but this year feels wide open.
Yeah,
This is the most parity in the league that I've seen in a long time, and it really feels like any of these 14 teams could probably make a deep run in the playoffs.
I would agree. I think the only ones that you could probably say won't are the Buccaneers and Steelers, maybe. But even saying that, it's like who knows?
Yeah,
Because
the
the
Buccaneers have a home playoff game, and the Steelers are the Steelers. Like they always
Yeah, and
find
if
a
the
way.
Steelers can get past the Bills, they actually have a relatively light path to the not light, but they'll play teams. They could potentially play back-to-back teams that they've already played twice. You know,
And
so I
beaten
mean,
twice.
and
Like
beaten twice, beaten four times. They could play teams that they've beaten a total four times to get to the Super Bowl, which no other team in this can say that. So it's definitely every team has a shot, and it's pretty exciting.
Packers are getting wiped, but other than that, I would agree.
Most likely, their defense is just not going to be able
Too
to
bad.
stop CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
But
Other than that, I would agree. I would agree with the statement.
starting with you, Jason, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl this year? What is the matchup going to be?
Your Super Bowl matchup is
Okay. Y'all better know who you better not say. Let me just say that right now. I'm going last, and you better know who you better not say. Because
oh,
I'm good. That's
you want
mine.
to say it. You want to say it. Gotcha. Well, don't worry. You ain't got to worry about that because it ain't going to be them. It's going to be, I'm going to do the basic. I'm sorry. It's the basic one. It's the right one. If you look back, points for, points against, everything matches up with these two teams. Honestly, it's actually three teams. It's the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Ravens.
well,
Can't have the Cowboys and the 49ers in it, so it's going to be the 49ers against the Ravens.
I
basic.
like it. I like it. That also matches what the logo for the Super Bowl is. So, script
Hmm.
writers beware. Jerry, who's the Super Bowl going to be?
I'm picking them just because they've caused me so much pain, and I know what they can do in the playoffs. Give me
Don't
the
say it.
Chiefs. Give me the
Don't
Chiefs out of the
say it.
AFC. They're gonna find a way. They have I think it's a pretty easy game against the Dolphins. They're gonna have. They're gonna wipe the Dolphins. Dolphins can't play in the cold. Then yeah, Chiefs are just gonna find a way. That's what Patty Mahomes does. Out of the NFC, give me the Dallas Cowboys. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. It feels like it's finally the Cowboys' year. They've had one heck of a year. This is the best regular season they've had in a long time. Dak Prescott was playing at an MVP level before the Bills game. I think he gets back on that train, and they have a couple of home games in the playoffs. I think they can do it. Chiefs Cowboys.
I like it.
Good
Now,
logo
my
matchup, by the way.
yes, very good logo matchup. You know what also would be a good logo matchup? You know what would be? Listen, this isn't going to be the most. No one's going to pick this. That this is going to happen. Nobody is going to, beat the horn that these two teams are going to make it to the Super Bowl. But it would be the most awesome Super Bowl of all time. The Cleveland Browns against the Detroit Lions. Give it to me. It is the year of destiny. Joe Flacco against Jared Goff. Who had that on their bingo card to start the year? No one. And it is going to be fantastic. And Cleveland in that matchup, I like Cleveland. So it'll be I just am so happy we're here. It's so exciting. And if we make it to the Super Bowl, you can bet your bottom dollar. I don't care how much the tickets cost. I'm going. You can
Oh
see
yeah,
me in Las Vegas. So,
yeah,
because
we're
who
going.
knows when they'll ever make it
We're
back?
all going, dog. We're all
Yeah.
going.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you might take out loans to get tickets. So,
Put
uh,
it on the company card.
yeah, yeah, put it on that company card. Put it on that company card.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for these playoffs. We couldn't have started this podcast at a better time with more things to talk about and how fun it's been so far. And I just I can't wait.
I
I
love the
Drive
really
playoffs.
can't.
fun.
I'm so excited.
What's fun?
Listen, just because your team didn't make it doesn't mean it's not still fun.
What's to be excited about? I wasn't finished.
Jason, you could
My
be a
New York
Browns
Silk
fan.
I can't
Shotgun
finish.
jersey. That's what's to be excited about. But now it's time to debut our tied for longest reoccurring segment. We've changed it up a little bit as there are now only 14 teams left to win a championship this year. We will only be displaying 14 teams. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about each one, what makes all of them good, what makes all of them, what we think some of their weaknesses may be. And again, while the aesthetic of the power rankings has changed ever so slightly, how the power rankings have been derived have not changed one bit. And we still have the correct, the accurate power rankings going into the first week of the postseason into Super Wild Card Weekend, and we're going to go ahead and lead it off with number 14. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, a very up and down season for the AFC North team that backslid their way, thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars, into the playoffs. Jerry, what do you
Nice
see
dig.
being this team's biggest strength going into the playoffs? We hinted and discussed it, touched on it a little bit ago, but what about the Pittsburgh Steelers should scare teams in the playoffs?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, they've had a little bit of turmoil at quarterback this year. Kenny Pickett going down and then Mitch Trubisky sucking and then going down. And I got Mason Rudolph, who almost died to Myles Garrett a couple years ago by getting a helmet smashed in his face. He's actually not playing that bad. He's actually not playing that bad. Yeah, exactly. Live replay right there. No, he's not playing that bad. They're able to run the ball really well with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, and TJ Watt on that defensive line is an absolute monster. I really hope he can come back for the playoffs because he's just so exciting to watch. I haven't seen anything on if he's been officially ruled out yet. But man, if he's in there, their defense is gonna be tough to deal with. They just find a way to grind out games and just end up winning in the end. That's what Mike Tomlin does. That's what he's done since he's been there. Hasn't had a losing record ever since he became the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dude's gonna die on Heinz Field as the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know,
Acrisure Stadium.
whatever. It's Heinz. It's Heinz Field. I'm pretty sure
No,
the ketchup bottle's still there.
I doubt it. No, I can't agree with you more. We've seen this team twice. We've lost to the team once. We beat them once, and I think earlier I said they had beat the Browns twice, and that was a mistake. We did beat them, but I think for 99% of people, TJ Watt's injury is for sure they're not playing this week and probably not in the divisional round if they were to make it there. If there was anyone that could get on the field and have an impact and still be out there, it is someone with the last name Watt. Remember, JJ Watt tore his pec, I believe. I
Mm.
believe it was a torn pec in one of his last seasons in the NFL, and it was you're done for the season, and he made it back for the playoffs, and it was an incredible feat. So that family's got some interesting genetics and blood. Who knows what could happen? But a little bit on the flip side of that, Jason, what do you see as a weakness of the Pittsburgh Steelers in this playoff run?
Consistency on offense. They you can see explosive plays from George Pickens one week. The next week he doesn't even get a target. So there's no consistency in this offense. You hope that they can. No, you actually don't hope that they can get it together because I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they have two running backs that they can give the ball to. Who's going to be the guy that they give the most targets to? Who's going to step it up? You just worry about that. I mean, Deontay Johnson has a drop catch that he literally gives the ball to the defender and they get an interception from. So I've seen the 70-yard bomb to Pickens. I've seen the wide receiver literally hand the ball to the defender. So no consistency on offense is what I would say is their biggest weakness as of now.
Yeah, and again with someone like Mason Rudolph, who has been great for the few weeks that he's started, will he be able to continue that sort of consistency and keep it in the playoffs? And I honestly, we obviously don't think so. This is why they came in at the 14th ranked team. Coming in at 13, the Green Bay Packers, kind of the two blue bloods that are in this that have had success. Don't get me wrong, we got some of the blue bloods like the Cleveland Browns up at the top, but some of the historic franchises here at the bottom, the Green Bay Packers come in at 13. Jason, what about the Green Bay Packers is scary for other teams that might be playing them here in the playoffs?
Explosive offense, opposite of the
Opposite of the
Pittsburgh
Literally
Steelers.
the
Steelers.
exact opposite.
Literally the exact opposite. They have very good offense. Their quarterback is secure in his position. We know he can play well. Their wide receivers have taken the step forward. I think Dobbs is not going to play this week, I believe, but they still have Jaden Reed, who has had a pretty solid year so far.
Jerry, again, kind of emulating the previous team we discussed. What about the Packers? I mean, again, we could just say the opposite. I think I know what you're going to say, but what about the Packers is a glaring weakness that the Cowboys might exploit?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it earlier. It's their secondary, it's their defense. They can't stop anybody. You alluded to it earlier. They let Baker Mayfield go for a perfect passer rating and almost 400 yards in Lambeau. And then the week after, Bryce Young goes for 312 and two tutties. You know, they almost lose to the freaking Carolina Panthers. What do you think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb is going to do to this team? A CeeDee Lamb
You're telling me there's a
one.
difference between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb versus Bryce Young and Adam Thielen?
Uh,
Nah, it
no,
can't be.
no, no.
They're
One
about the
team
same.
had 2 wins, and the other hasn't lost all year long at home. So there you go. There's your difference.
Fair enough. I'd agree. It'd be interesting. They're the youngest team to ever make the playoffs. The median age is 25, meaning we're all older than the median age of the Green Bay Packers, which is pretty absurd and very impressive. And you wonder, how do they keep getting away with this? It seems that they have another quarterback that they're going to have for a long time. God, can't this franchise just suck for once? Why can't you be like us? But oh well. Moving on, number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, team that finished 1-5 coming down the stretch. A team that started off, former Super Bowl runner-ups, former NFC champions from last year, started out 10-1, I apologize, and then had a very, very rough end of the year. Jerry, what about the Eagles? Is I know it's hard to talk about a lot of positives right now, but what about them? Do you think can they put together? Can they figure out during this playoff run to make a deep playoff run?
Yeah, one thing I've noticed about the Eagles, even through their lows through the past couple of weeks, if DeAndre Swift is healthy, they do run the ball really well. They do a great job of keeping the ball on the ground, and that kind of opens up the offense a little bit. They keep the ball on the ground, first and second down. DeAndre Swift can easily get you 4 to 5 yards, and then obviously you get to third and one, fourth and one. You know the tush push is coming. It has a 95% success rate. But it opens up the offense for explosive plays with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, which they've exploited a few times. And when the defense has to stack 7 or 8 guys in the box to stop DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith is going to get open. He is that good. He, former Heisman Trophy winner. He did it against Tough Borland at Ohio State. He can do it against these defenses. The He's done it all season long, and for some reason they've kind of gotten away from it. I don't know what's wrong with the Eagles, but if they can get back to that game plan, that's what I think is one of their strong suits, and it should be a key to success for them to win their playoff game.
What about weaknesses, Jason? What about this team? I know you could probably say a lot right now coming down the stretch, but if you had to boil it down to a couple points, what about the Eagles is like massive glaring hole?
Same thing with the Packers. That secondary is atrocious. There's injuries here and there, but I mean they cannot cover anything right now. So if how do they figure it out? I don't know. But they got to do something on defense. I mean, it's linebackers as well. The flow of the defense, not good. Yeah, they picked up Darius Leonard, but he's not looking like his old self with the Colts as an All-Pro player. So they have a couple weaknesses, I would say. Then they're back half of the defense.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think that they're going to be an interesting team to watch, and they actually will be playing the next team on the list at number 11. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and to kind of speed up here, I'll kind of speed run this one. I think the weaknesses for Tampa Bay going into this are is going to be the consistency on the offense. Now Baker Mayfield has shown that he can make some really significant plays. If you watch that Saints game, he didn't look great for good portions of it, but when it came down to it in the fourth quarter, he made actually some really impressive big boy throws, and
Mhm.
his team quite literally fumbled the game away for him. I think if you doubt Baker Mayfield to make a playoff run, he is going to make a playoff run. If you think Tampa Bay, if the media, if the world thinks that Baker is going to beat the Eagles and go on a deep playoff run, he will lose by 20. And that is just how Baker Mayfield operates. I
Yep.
think offensively, he's got weapons all over that outside. I think actually one of their weaknesses ends up being their offensive coordinator, who feels insistent on running the ball 30 times a game no matter what, even if they're averaging 2.5 yards per carry. Now, if they can find a way to have some success like they did in the last few weeks in the run game, I think that really helps Baker, opens up the play action game, which is his strong suit. But uh, I think the only way a team like the Buccaneers makes a playoff run is if Baker elevates his game and can get the ball spread around to the outside to his weapons and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who quietly, for whatever reason, seems to always be quietly, had another 1,000 yard season and another Pro Bowl nod. So it'll be interesting to watch. I think Tampa Bay is definitely a team to watch out for. Coming in at number 10, you have the 4 seed AFC South champions, the Houston Texans. Jerry, what about this team is do you think allows them to put on a deep playoff run here? And just to say we're lasting a little bit long here, so let's maybe speed up a little bit here, try to get through to the top teams here. But what about Houston is extremely impressed you this year and allows them to have that deep playoff run?
Yeah, I think with Houston, you kind of look at it in a different direction in that they don't necessarily have to make a deep playoff run, right? This season's already a success. They go from 3 wins to division champs. You have a first-year quarterback, first-year head coach. Their offensive coordinator is unfortunately probably going to leave for a head coach job because he's been awesome. But you're looking at the future if you're the Houston Texans and what they've been able to do. When you take that kind of leap in your first year, it's really a sign of success. And with C.J. Stroud back there, he's been a rookie that's been able to make plays time and time again. You never know what can happen. Nico Collins is awesome. Unfortunately, you would like to see Tank Dell on the field this week. Not going to happen. He'll be back next year, and yeah, look out for the Texans here in the next 4 to 5 years minimum.
100%. Jason, what about this team do you think is a weakness coming in to the playoffs here?
Their strength is their weakness, youth. So they're not experienced yet. So once they get to the playoffs, they're gonna struggle to know how to win. So I think that's gonna be their biggest struggle.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think that and their offensive line, and I think coming into they've given up like 47 sacks this season, so it's quite a bit.
Right. Not every sack is on the offensive line,
No,
though.
no, it's not. It is 100% not. But
Contrary to popular belief.
no, it is not all the offensive line. But I don't think they're a. I don't even think they're a top 15 offensive line if I had to rank them in my personal opinion. Disagree or
They're
maybe
close. They're
middle
close.
middle of the pack. Middle of
They
the pack. All
have
right.
They're
they
pretty
have
middle of the road.
they have one. They have two pieces that they really need in the center and the left tackle. Or right. Does he play right or left?
Left.
I
Larry
think he
Tunsil.
plays left.
He
Yeah,
plays
I think
left
he plays
tackle.
left.
And their right tackle wasn't that good last year. I think has taken better steps. They're middle of the road. They're middle of the road.
Coming in at number 9, we have the Miami Dolphins. This is a team that seems to be reeling, but I still think a team that has big strike ability. Jason, what are some of the strengths you see out of the Miami Dolphins?
explosiveness on offense specifically. I mean, they're the fastest team in the NFL by far, and it's not even close. From one to do two deep, like they probably have the fastest wide receiver, top three fastest wide receiver with when healthy, and then two running backs that can run under 4.4. So speed.
Speed. I am
And
speed.
details.
But what about this team, Jerry? Is like, they had some struggles coming down the back half. There was a point in the year where the Bills were 6-6 and the Dolphins were 9-3, and the Dolphins ended up not winning the division. What is what has caused that downfall, and do you think that continues into the playoffs? And what is it, I guess, to be more specific, that limits the Dolphins' abilities in the playoffs here?
Yeah, as fast as they are, really the only thing that's slowed them down this year has been injuries, and that's not getting better anytime soon. They still have Jalen Phillips out, Bradley Chubb's out. I think Xavier Howard is going to be out this week again.
Out.
Waddle and most are unlikely to play as well. So they just lost.
Van Ginkel
Um, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I
out.
forgot about Van Ginkel too. Yeah,
Van
that's a
Ginkel's out.
huge piece. Yeah, so just lost a lot of pieces on offense that are that contribute to that explosiveness, and then the edge rushers just aren't going to be able to get to the quarterback. And of course, yeah, they got Jalen Ramsey back, but he's only on one side of the field. So look for the Chiefs to try to expose that side of the other side of the field this weekend.
Speaking of the Chiefs, coming in at number 8, we have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh.
Well,
Big
let's take
one.
that boo and let's make you talk about not boo, Jerry. What about the Chiefs will allow them? And you said it yourself. They're going to be Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl, sorry. They're going to be AFC champions. What is it about the Kansas City Chiefs that'll allow them to do that this year?
Their defense is playing at a Super Bowl caliber level right now. They are really hard to run the ball against. They're really hard to pass the ball against. They just keep everything tight, keep everything in front of them. They don't give up the big play. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes is going to be, at the end of the day, could be the best quarterback of all time. He's, number one in the NFL right now, in my opinion. He just has that ability to make plays out of nowhere. And then you got Travis Kelsey. Taylor Swift is going to be there. She is, unfortunately. So that gives him a boost. But Travis Kelsey, Pro Bowl year, he's obviously one of the best to ever do it. Hopefully, won't see him back next year. But when those guys are on the field, they have a knack to make things happen.
For
Side note,
sure. Go ahead, Jason.
the players even voted him all pro.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That is pretty crazy. Uh, having said all that, I think parlaying a little bit off of one of their strengths, which is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can only do one of the two things that is required when throwing the ball. Jason, if you had to name a weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs, what would you say?
What an alley oop this man just gave me. Oh my god. I'm gonna dunk this, alright? Wide receivers catching the ball, alright? Because they ain't been doing it lately. I mean, yeah, Rashid Rice looks good. Rashid Rice, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He looks good.
I think it's Rasheed.
Rasheed,
Yeah.
Rashid Rice, yeah.
no D.
Looks good. He can be a future piece, but other than that, nobody else has stepped up to the plate. So they're gonna have to have someone play and show up.
Maybe they can find the Joe Flacco of wide receivers to come off the bench. I don't know, but they need somebody that can catch the ball. And right now, they only have, I guess they have two options, but just don't throw MVS or uh, what's
Kadarius
his
Toney.
name? Kadarius Toney. Thank you. The
Yeah.
football, because it will end poorly.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney being injured has been a plus for them the
A
last couple of
massive
weeks.
plus. Massive plus. Coming in at number 7, a team that has steadily moved up our ranks, the Los Angeles Rams, one of the hottest teams, especially offensively right now in the NFL. And again, I'll take this one just to kind of speed things up a little bit. But the the Rams off as far as talking about keys to why they can be successful, it is 100% their offense. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They have a player at wide receiver who has won the Triple Crown. They have a wide receiver who is going to be a finalist for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Probably won't get it, though, in any other year would win that award. And they have a running back who is steadily becoming a top 10, if not top 5 running back in the NFL. Now, their weakness, actually what used to be kind of their biggest strength when they did win the Super Bowl, is their defense. and defensive consistency. They're very young and they're very depleted on that side of the ball as far as what used to be their main talent. Having said that, they are still have put together a back half of the season that is as good as anybody else's. I mean, you're talking about a team that lost to the number one seed in the AFC off of a punt return. I mean, a team that beat the Browns pretty handily in Joe Flacco's first start. I mean, this is a very good ball club, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make a deep playoff run. But coming in at number six, I think probably media wise the most overrated team in the NFL. Personally, I believe this. Having said that, they still have one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL. That is the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, respectively. Jason, I know Josh Allen has been a point of contention among you and I about whether or not he's good. I always thought he was. You always thought he wasn't going to be. He's ended up being pretty good, but I think I still have significant concerns about him. What about the Bills is scary for the teams because a lot of the media is talking about this being number one team to watch out for in the AFC besides the Baltimore Ravens.
What's scary is that they haven't put everything together and are still in this position. So their running game has gotten so much better than it's been in the last 2 years, 3 years. And you still haven't seen Josh Allen play his best game with that. So that's what's scary. I'll even double up and give you the weakness or what to worry about with the Bills. The Bills, I would believe their weakness now is again their strength, Josh Allen. So if he goes out there and doesn't handle the ball well, turns over the ball, their defense I don't think is good enough to keep up with some of these teams. So
I think that's a good point. I think
Mm.
their defense is so depleted from injury that is it's going to be difficult to compete with some of these teams in the AFC. Uh, Having said that, the team above them, switching over to the NFC, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry, why don't you double up? Tell us both what makes the Dallas Cowboys a threat in the NFC, especially to the 49ers, and what is kind of their weakness that people can exploit?
Well, their strength and their ability to be a threat comes from the offensive side of the ball. Dak Prescott is playing awesome football right now. They have a top five receiver and CD Lamb right now, who is just having a monster year. They have a
I can't remember.
guy.
Is he a number one? Is he a number one receiver?
So
Did you see all that controversy?
yes,
yeah,
he's a
yeah,
slot
Okay.
receiver. He's not a true number one. Like
Yeah.
what? Shut
Since then,
up.
since then he
yeah.
leads the NFL in receptions, touchdowns, and yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Media, shut the hell up. He's a number one. All right. Number one receiver in CD Lamb. He is having a monster year. They have a really, really good tight end in Jake Ferguson, who's just consistently, 4 or 5 catch a game guy, 50 to 60 yards, can just get you the down yardage that you need on any down. Tony Pollard, able to run the ball at will. He's really good out of the backfield and catching situations as well. Just really solid all around. And then they have a guy, and actually in the slot, and Brandon Cooks, who's having a resurgence in his career. He had a couple of down games this year, but I mean, he's had a couple of games. He's absolutely exploded. And then, of course, they have home field advantage up until the conference championship. Nobody's been able to beat them at home this year. They're going to exploit that. Jerry's World is the toughest place to play in football right now. No way anybody's going in there to beat them. Now, having said that, the defensive side of the ball has been questionable at times. They've given up some points that they probably shouldn't have. They're still really solid back there, but they have a couple of key injuries, and Trayvon Diggs, who's been out all year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them, kind of give up a couple of big plays, especially to the Packers, who and Jaden Reed has that ability to do so. So it should be a good game. The Cowboys should be able to make a deep run. I have them in my Super Bowl. I think they get there. That's the Dallas Cowboys for you.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I think the only other thing you could add in there for a weakness is their run game, especially up the middle. They got gashed for over 200 yards by a
Mm.
Buffalo Bills team that was bottom half in the league in rushing yards. So if you can figure out how to run the ball consistently on them, you're going to be in for a long day. Coming in at number four, we have the Detroit Lions, a team that joins along with the Browns. This is the first season in which both teams have had 11 wins. This is a franchise that has been starving for success for a long time. It seems like they've found it with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, this explosive offense, and this culture that they've set of tough grittiness, of biting people's kneecaps. I mean, that was literally said in the press conference.
Word for word,
It's
bar for bar.
yeah, it's pretty fantastic, and they are just really, 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 really fun to watch. Jerry, what about this team do you think is the most exciting and could lend to who I think will make it to the Super Bowl, but lend to the playoff run here?
Yeah, their big playability. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs out of the backfield. I feel bad for Jameer Gibbs when they get inside the 5 yard line because you know David Montgomery's coming in to take that touchdown. But
Yeah,
they're really freaking fast with Jameson Williams, Josh Reynolds, and Amon-Ra St. Brown on the outside. Really, really, really sucked to see Sam Laporta go down last weekend. I hope he's able to get back. Looks like it's going to be a couple of weeks out, minimum. But man, yeah, they're just exciting to watch on offense. They have just consistent big playability. They can break it open at any time, and I think they will have a fun time doing that in the playoffs.
I think so. But their weakness, Jason, what is it?
Their weakness is consistency on both sides of the football, I would say. You one game get Jared Goff, who looks like an MVP caliber quarterback, and then the next game is throwing two interceptions
Mm-hmm.
and throws for 150 yards, and loses you $1,000. But then on defense, I think they play to their best ability every game. It's just they're missing pieces here and there. They're not a full team yet. I mean, this was a team that had a top five offense and a bottom five defense last year. They only get a defensive end and a linebacker in the draft. They're not complete, but they play hard. Weakness, though, I would say is again consistency.
I would have to agree, but they are one of the most fun teams to watch, and probably the first or second easiest team to root for in the
Hmm.
playoffs. Coming in at number three, probably that other first or second easiest team to root for in the playoff is the Cleveland Browns. And again, I'll take this one, folks. Don't worry about it. As far as strengths, there has been one strength this entire season, and that has been the Jim Schwartz led defense. We are the number one defense in the NFL. I don't want to hear anything about the Ravens. I don't want to hear anything about the Cowboys. I don't want to hear anything about the Chiefs. Okay, we are the number one defense, and I don't think it's particularly close. If you look at the statistics, we lead the NFL in third down percentage, meaning we get off the field on third down faster than anybody. We have the least plays defended in the NFL this season. That's because teams come in, they get three and out, they punt the ball back to our offense. They have the least sustained drives out of anyone. If people point to the points given up, we lead the NFL with 37 turnovers. 37. Let that sink in. There's no team that gives the other team's offense the ball more than the Cleveland Browns. And yet this defense has still kept us in games. We've only team that has beaten the number one seed in both the NFC and AFC. And that is again largely due to our defense. I think another one of our strengths is on that offensive side, Stefanski and Joe Flacco seem to be a match made in heaven. They
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to call plays for him, and Flacco has ran this offense for a long time. If you keep a clean pocket for him, he will dice you apart. We saw that against the Jets, who are a top five defense in the NFL, who the number two pass defense in the NFL, who he threw for 300 yards against in the first half without his best receiving target. So you combine that, you have a very powerful, explosive offense with one of the best, actually the best defense in the NFL that it lends itself to a deep playoff run. Now, their biggest weakness is again kind of back to the Josh Allen type situation. Joe Flacco ain't afraid to rip it deep and get it intercepted, and he has while he's had thrown 13 touchdowns in 5 games and thrown for the most yards over that span. He's averaging 325 a game, which is absurd.
Gosh, I
He
didn't realize he was
also
averaging that much. Wow.
he also has thrown 8 interceptions. And now part of that is a 2 interception game against the Texans in which we didn't have a kicker. So a couple of them are, you could maybe take one or two of those away. But at the end of the day, our team likes to give the ball to the other team. And teams that lose the turnover battle in the playoffs most of the time do not win. So if we continue to turn the ball over, you could look for an easy exit or early exit rather. But if we can stop the turnovers from happening and limit those in the playoffs, you're talking about a team that can really compete to win the AFC and even the Super Bowl. So that's my diatribe on my Cleveland Browns. I want to say also, there was reports that there was a players only meeting on Monday, and I don't know if many, and maybe it's just because I'm so hyper focused on the Browns, but there were players that came out of that meeting who've been playing in the league for a long time that said this is the most impactful players meeting that they've ever been in their lives, and the reason being they're actually, I think, to many people's potential surprise, 5 Super Bowl winners on the Cleveland Browns right now, and 8 total rings among them. And at that players only meeting, the only people that were allowed to speak were the players who had won Super Bowls. And all of them had been integral parts to their winning Super Bowls. Obviously, the most influential being Joe Flacco being a Super Bowl MVP. But everybody that got up and spoke talked about what it takes to win the Super Bowl and what sort of prep is needed and how this locker room is primed to do so. And it just gets me excited and hyped. And I think that was a really cool story to come out. And, who knows what's going to happen? Anything could happen. But it's just fun to see Cleveland being one of these top teams in the NFL. So,
Awesome.
anyway, number
It's
2.
awesome.
What were you saying?
I was
Jay?
just saying it's awesome.
Yeah,
Like, it's awesome.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And as someone, Jerry, who lives in Cleveland now, it's like Cleveland is a football town.
Yeah.
For as bad as we've been for as long as we've been, that dog pound is barking every Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
It's cool. It's cool also to go to work and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's got Browns fever right now. Yeah, it's awesome. It's cool.
Even here in Columbus, everyone has Browns fever. So it's super exciting. It's super exciting.
So, side note, I work for a call center. I took a call from a guy from Indiana, and he's talking about the Browns in the backfield, in the back of the call. I'm like, are you from Ohio? He's like, no, I'm from Indiana.
That's awesome. Let's go, baby. Browns going to the Super Bowl. But anyway, coming at number 2, we'll finish up here. These 2 teams are the most complete teams in the NFL, and they've been that way for a long time on the top 2 of these power rankings for basically half the season. Number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. Super quick here so we can wrap up this segment. Jerry, what about the 49ers makes them really good, and what do you see as a weakness?
Christian McCaffrey. That's all you got to say. Christian McCaffrey's really good at the game of football. He can do everything and anything. Brock Purdy is one hell of a quarterback too. Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft. Dude is one heck of a story. Been exciting to watch all year. And they, again, like the Detroit Lions, have that big play ability to bust it open at any time. Their only weakness all year long has been injuries that have killed them, specifically to Trent Williams, who is the most important piece of that offense. If he can stay healthy, 49ers are going to do some damage in the playoffs.
And then at number 1, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Jason, finish us out strong here. Give us what makes them great and what is a potential weakness.
The motivation to win a Super Bowl by their one and only Lamar Jackson, probably your NFL MVP. He got drafted. Everybody was hating on him to be a running back. He should change positions to a wide receiver. But he's like, no, I want to be a quarterback and go win a Super Bowl for this city. And I think that motivation alone is going to drive this team forward. Their greatest weakness, I would say, is probably same thing for the Chiefs. Drop passes, consistency with the catches. If they can't catch the ball from Lamar Jackson, they're not going to win. So defense is good. Offense is playing together and well. If they can't catch the ball, they're going to have some issues with some of these better defenses coming into the playoffs.
Exactly. And again, these top 2 teams both have buys going into Super Wildcard Weekend. We'll go ahead and preview those games coming up, but let's take a quick intermission and we'll be right back.
Easy $20.
The Browns and Jaguars game. We made it to our seats. Jason, Duval County, how are we feeling before the game? Duval! Ryan, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, how are we feeling?
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Ho, ho.
All right, it's going to be a good one. Stay tuned to watch. What do you think? Woo! Oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh, 14-0, baby. Let's go.
Oh, man. Jason, post-game analysis. What happened?
Not now.
Well, welcome back to the Unnamed Sports Show. Again, I'm your host, Ryan. I'm joined here by Jason and Jerry. We hope you enjoyed the first half of our show. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, follow us on social media at Unnamed Sports S. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm sorry, X. It's not called Twitter anymore, I guess. I don't know what we call it. But
Not
please
X
go.
videos. Please don't.
Jeez, Jerry. All right.
Okay, like y'all talking about me. Yeah, y'all talking about me earlier.
He's been waiting on that one for a
Oh
while.
my god.
Good God.
Jeez.
All right.
I didn't say
Jeez,
it.
we're gonna. This is terrible. All right, we're supposed to be family
it fly,
friendly
baby.
here. We will continue to try and be family friendly. We're sorry for those who have been offended. Having said all that, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review, comment if you will. Tell Jerry why he's wrong on that comment that he just made.
Mama Craig.
Yeah,
Butterfly.
Mama Craig, if you're watching. And then if after the show, it'll go up on YouTube as well as anywhere that you find your podcast, so you can listen to us at any time. Again, please don't forget to subscribe to us there as well. Moving on to this weekend. Again, I'm sorry. Let me back up. I can't believe I did that. What disrespect? Because it's time for actually the second longest running segment on our show. It is Jason's Moonshot Bet. Jason, take it away.
All right, my people, my dreamers, to my believers, we gonna do it this time. Yeah, you might look at that record and you see 0-9, and you don't have trust, but trust in this. It's a little bit late for some of these games, but there is a live bet, 30% on FanDuel right now, no promo. But we gonna give it to you, and to go with it, it is plus 4,104. We have Scotty Barnes, young player for the Toronto Raptors, going for 19.5 plus. Since the game started, it might be. Oh wait, no, that
Actually,
game's up 10.
Yeah, I
So-
just checked. Both of these games don't start until 10 o'clock, so you good. You good.
I used my brain this time. I forgot about that. So both these games are after 10. So you guys got plenty of times. Let's get this in. Scotty Barnes again, 19
I'm
and a
gonna
half.
get it in right now.
There you go. Scotty Barnes, 19 and a half. Check. Paul George, 20 plus. Check. We got Pau Siakam, 4 rebounds. Man averages 6. Check. RJ Barrett, 4 plus rebounds. Last 3 games, 10 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 4 rebounds. So that's a check. Kawhi Leonard, 4 rebounds. The Claw. Why do you think they call him the Claw? Because he'd be grabbing. Check. RJ Barrett, 20 plus points. Check. Last 2 games been over 22, I believe. Pau Siakam, 15 plus points, highest scoring player on their team, has dropped off a little bit due to the new additions, but he's still going to get his. That is for that game. The next game for you will be the Nuggets versus the Utah Jazz at 10-10. We have Nikola Jokic, probably second right now in MVP favorites. We're going to make sure we hit his props. 20 plus points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Ryan, one more time for me.
What's that behind my ear? Oh, is that a check?
That's a check. All right. Jamal Murray, second best player on the field, 20 plus points. Yeah, that was great. Anyways.
That was corny as hell.
No, I'm down with it. All for the magic. Laurie Markkinen, best player on the Jazz, gonna get 15 plus points. We just threw that in there to add a little something extra to it. All those gonna hit. $10 wins you 410. I put it in a little bit more, but to the moon.
Here we go. And again, please remember to bet responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Only bet what you can afford to lose. But Jason, I got a good feeling about this one.
I like it.
0-9, that doesn't mean anything. We were trying to go 1-0 this week. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to go 1-0. And
Urban said it the best.
I think what'd he say? He
Just
said
want to know.
bet Jason because he'll probably be right.
Yeah.
This
No.
has been Jason's Moonshot Bet of the Week. Go ahead and run that graphic again.
Joke me.
Well, I can't believe I started that off by not remembering to include JJ's Moonshot Bet of the Week. But now we're back on to football. It's time to talk about Super Wild Card Weekend. And we have an amazing slate. We start off with the Browns at the Texans. Browns minus 2.5. This one is going to be interesting. The Browns and Texans have already played this year. All right. The Browns defense got the luxury of playing against C.J. Stroud, and their offense had the luxury of not having to block Will Anderson or their leading sack getter, whose name is escaping me right now. Can anybody help me out?
1 second.
While Jerry's looking that up, his name, he got injured quickly in that game, and so it led to 0 sacks on Flacco, the only game he hasn't gotten sacked in. And it was just an absolute bludgeoning. The score was a 14-point game, but that's much closer than what the actual this game was with our starters in. We were up 36-7 before we pulled our starters, and their 7 points came off a kickoff return for a touchdown.
Jonathan
I mean,
Greenard.
thank you. But again, they didn't have 3 of their best players, so it wasn't the best sample size. We also get Grant Delpit back potentially for this game, which would be huge for our secondary. He's our second leading tackler, even though he missed the last 4 games of the season. It will be a fun one to watch. Jason, what do you see happening in this one?
I see a defense winning championships, and the defense for the Browns is the best in the NFL, as you have said, as I have said, as everyone should be saying. Joe Flacco is also going to provide experience in his with his old Super Bowl run with the Ravens. Is going to be able to get this team to perform its best, I think, and go out there and win this game.
Jerry, what do the Texans have to do if they do want a chance to win this game?
They just
In your
gotta
eyes.
control the ball. I mean, if they can hold on to the ball, if CJ Stroud can put a couple of big plays together, which Jason's already said, the Browns defense just does not give up the big play. But man, CJ Stroud's just got to play like CJ Stroud has played all year long. If he can play like that at one time an MVP caliber level, they'll have a chance. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy that they're dogs at home. I know the Browns are very good, but I think the Texans are better than what people are giving them credit for.
I think the reason being is that the 2 times the Texans have played a defense that's in the realm of the Cleveland Browns have been the Jets and the Ravens, and both times CJ Stroud has struggled mightily in those games.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Browns are better than both those teams' defenses. I think Baltimore plays a certain style, and that was his first game, so I don't know if you can really count that one. But the Jets, it's kind of similar to the Browns with not quite the same pass rushing attack, have lockdown corners on the outside. They end up in a lot of cover 2 and a lot of man, and that's what the Browns are going to be playing. And they completely dominated the Texans in that game even before CJ Stroud got injured. So I think that's why Browns are getting the benefit of the doubt on the road. But it's going to be a tough out no matter what for either way. But whatever team wins is going to have to really put it together. Who do you see winning this one, Jerry? Oh, just winning. You can say with or against the spread if you want, but who's winning?
I will say whoever wins this game is going to be my AFC team that I'm rooting for. So there's that. But I'm going to give it to
Same.
I'm going to give it to the Cleveland Browns simply because of the fact of what Jason said earlier. They're just more experienced than the Texans. Texans
Taking the
just have
points.
no experience on that side of the ball. Give me the points. I think by a touchdown.
Jason, what do you think?
Agreed. Browns give me the points, and I'm going with the over as well. Even with the Browns defense, I'm still going with the over.
Really?
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns. I think this is a 2 point. I think the Texans cover, actually. I think it's a last second field goal, and Hopkins isn't playing, so it's going to be our backup, and we're going to be sweating. And I think we're going to be down one or two, and I think we're going to kick it to win. And it's going to be like a 17 to, I guess that would be a weird one. I'm guessing
I think
like
it
a
was 17
23 to
16.
21 type game, and right at that over. I guess that would be right at the under number, but I think it's going to be real tight. I think it's going to be a good game. I think what's going to happen is the Browns are going to look like the more dominant team for 90% of the game, but the Texans are going to find a way to get two, three really big plays, whether that be a pick six, whether that be a long pass from Stroud to Nico Collins, whether that be Damian Pierce running back another kickoff for a touchdown. I think that the Browns will smother one big play, and that seems to be also how the Texans have won a lot of games this season as well. So I can't wait to watch. It's gonna be so fun, and what a kickoff to Super Wildcard Weekend coming up on exclusively on Peacock. After the Browns take on the Texans, we have the Dolphins at the Chiefs. Chiefs 4 point favorites in this one. You're talking about two teams that seem to be kind of struggling in different areas. Dolphins mainly in the injury department. Chiefs receivers don't know how to catch a football. Chiefs still favored by 4 at home. You're talking about the defending Super Bowl champions. Jerry, what do you see out of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be one of the coldest games in NFL history. I think the actual temperature is going to be 0 degrees with a wind chill of like -10, -15. There's no way the Dolphins are going to be able to play in that. They live in Miami, dog. Come on. Chiefs all day long. It pains me to say it. Chiefs are going to run the ball. Patty Mahomes is going to make big plays. I think Travis Kelsey is actually going to have a really big game. I'm thinking 100 yards plus. It's just going to be one of those games that the Chiefs just control the ball, don't give the Dolphins any time to make plays, and yeah, Chiefs are gonna exploit also their edge rushers being injured. They're just gonna Isaiah Pacheco on the outside just all day long.
What do the Dolphins, Jason, need to do to be able to compete with the Chiefs, be able to beat them, and honestly conquer that excellent defense that the Chiefs do have this year?
Pressure does not have to only come from the edges. Yes, it's easier to get it from the edges, but Christian Wilkins and Seitler, I can't remember the other guy's name, but they have to get pressure. The defense is going to have to get creative with some blitz packages. You can get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. It's a lot harder to. He's going to have a lot harder of a time this year than previous years to be able to make crazy plays and get the ball to receivers.
It'll be interesting. I will say, remember who the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins is. Uh, Vic Fangio likes to blitz a lot. They're the number two
Yes, sir.
blitzing team this year. So if they're able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes where he has to rely on one-on-one coverage with guys that can't catch the football, it might be a recipe for the Dolphins to win. But Jason, go ahead. What's your prediction for this one? Who do you see winning? Give us the points. Give us the win. What do you think?
Give me Miami. I have Miami beating the spread. Um, Also to win the game. Definitely, definitely go over on this game because there should be a lot of throwing the football in this game. I'm gonna go the over. Dolphins win this game, 28-21.
Jerry, same question.
I
Obviously,
agree. I
Chiefs.
agree with the over. Yeah, well, I agree with the over. I agree with the Dolphins covering. Give me the Chiefs to win the game. I think it's a field goal game at the end. 26-23.
I
Chiefs.
like it. I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins as well. I think the Chiefs are pretenders this year. I have part of it's also based on uh, the Dolphins are sort of a up and down team, and they've been down in back to back weeks. I think they find a way to be on top, and I think the Chiefs have. I've watched the Chiefs. They've looked really good in about two games this year. They've looked really good in the Bears game, and that was before the Bears actually had a solid defense. And they looked good against the Chargers, who are terrible. So I think you have a team that doesn't really have, I don't think, any confidence going into this playoffs. I think the Dolphins at the end of the day still have some confidence. They still have some swagger. The Chiefs to me just seem dead. Honestly, that's my opinion of the situation, and I think the Dolphins end up getting the W. Moving on to the Sunday games, in the 1 o'clock window, we have the Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. Bills favored by 10 points. Some spread. Uh,
Nice.
but it's I don't know if that's like stealing or not, but whatever. It's still funny. It's a 10-point spread. Uh, I think the Bills have been, again, as I talked about, one of the most overhyped teams, but they have been hot coming in. They've won a lot of games in a row to be able to get where they are. And that is a division win for the fourth straight year and the ability to host potentially multiple playoff games if they were to win. Jason, what about this game? How do you see it going? What are some of the
The
key
Steelers can't.
factors in this matchup?
The Steelers can't keep getting away with this, right? So key importance obviously is going to be Josh Allen not turning over the football, running the football well against the Steelers. They're missing. They're probably going to be missing T.J. Watt, so you're going to have less pressure on you. So can the Bills get pressure on the Steelers with an inexperienced Mason Rudolph and could be able to cover these the talented wide receivers, but again, receivers that aren't consistent. So I see the Bills winning this game. 10 points is tough for a team that I don't think has been shown that their full potential yet. So I don't think they get to a -10 spread, maybe 3 to 7 area. Honestly, probably like 4 to 3 would be my guess, but we'll see. Yeah, I got the Bills, but
So
not
you're
covering.
taking the Bills, but Steelers to cover.
Correct.
All right, Jerry, go ahead and give us your rundown of the game and also who you think's going to win.
I disagree. I think the Bills are going to absolutely dominate this game. Give me the Bills to win. Give me the Bills on the points. Give me the over because I think the Bills hit that by themselves. I'm thinking they win by like 20 points. I think this is Josh Allen. Josh Allen breakout game. The Steelers are not a good team. There's a reason they were in the bottom of our power rankings this week. Without TJ Watt, they are not going to be able to get any pressure on Josh Allen. They're not going to be able to force Josh Allen into bad situations, and James Cook is going to be able to run the ball all over them. Give me the Bills. Alternate spread, 19.5.
uh, First of all, I love that because I hate the Steelers. I think this game comes down to a lot about playoffs. I think come down to a couple different things. I think it is which team can execute their fundamentals kind of at the highest level that aren't making the mistake. They're the team that executes. I know it's all cliche, whatever, but it's a team that the moment isn't too big for them and they can execute. And I think the other team is togetherness. The team that's locker room is the tightest and that's had the most belief in each other. And I think in this case, the Bills are significantly better in both aspects. I think you saw a Steelers team that at one point was pretty much ready to give up on the season when they had lost to the Patriots and Cardinals back-to-back games. And you had Najee Harris calling out players in the locker room. You had wide receivers not blocking and jumping over defenders to make sure they don't roll their ankles. And on the flip side, you have a Bills team that went through some controversy this year with their head coach, and all the players backed their coach, and they came out and dominated to come down to the end of the season, especially good teams like the Cowboys. So I think you just have a much more solid locker room and a much more solid uh, love for each other as far as the players go on the Bills side. And because of that, I think they win and cover. Moving on. Now we have the two main storylines of this playoff, starting with the Packers at the Cowboys. Cowboys 7.5 point favorites at home. Pretty much what everyone expected. Jerry, give us a little bit of a rundown of what you see happening here, as well as who you think's going to win this one.
Cowboys at home. Cowboys undefeated. Cowboys stay undefeated. Dak Prescott is going to have 350. CD Lamb 190. It's going to be one of those games. He is going to absolutely torch that Packers secondary.
Gary
They,
was some solid
Eaters.
predictions.
I'm telling you, man, it's going to be one of those weekends. There's going to be a lot of good games this weekend, but I think the last game, the Steelers and Bills, and the Packers Cowboys games are the two games with the most disparity on both sides of the ball. The Cowboys are just a stronger team. They're a better built team. I wouldn't say necessarily better coach because I don't think Mike McCarthy is a coach. I think he's kind of an idiot. But that being said, Dak Prescott is MVP caliber guy. Jordan Love is good. He's still young. Still has a little bit of stuff to work on here. So give me the Cowboys on the points. I think the over hits. I think both teams actually do put up a lot of points. But the Cowboys are just gonna torch the Packers.
Interesting. I love the significant and very assertive predictions out of you this week, Jerry. It's great. It is absolutely great. Jason,
And they're
how do you
correct, by the
see?
way.
Well, we'll be the judge of
350 is
that
crazy.
next Wednesday.
350 is crazy.
We got to write all this stuff down. We're gonna have to remember what you said so we can
I'll clip it
check
up.
whether or
Oh
not
yeah,
you're
Clip
right.
it
I'll
up.
clip it
it
up.
all up.
Put me on blast, dog. Put me on
Yeah.
blast.
Oh, our blooper reel is going to be insane. Anyways, 350 is crazy, but they are going to absolutely demolish this team. Like I would like to see the -10 spread on this game. Again, the at home the Cowboys are good. They're gonna throw for a lot. I could see like 300. Definitely see CD Lamb having probably one of his better games as well. Yeah, no, they definitely win at least by 2 touchdowns. At least by 2 touchdowns. Nothing the Packers can do on defense to stop this team, and then I think that you'll see the ability to run the football once they're up and finish this game out. So
Yeah, the only
GG.
thing I think that the Cowboys definitely outmatch the Packers, but there's something about this Packers offense that is really, really explosive and really good. And Jordan Love has a lot of confidence. I honestly think it's a much closer game than that 7.5. Personally, I think the Cowboys do win. I think at the end of the day, they're at home and they're a very good team, but especially at home. But I think the Packers give them a little bit of run on the money, especially with Aaron Jones being back to full health and being able to run the football. I think that adds to it. But at the end of the day, I think the Cowboys still win. So it is all of this stuff is going to be fantastic in the playoffs, and we're ending with probably if the Ravens Browns meet in the AFC Championship, that would be the only storyline greater than this Sunday night matchup between the Rams and the Lions. The Lions are 3-point favorites at home, which is interesting because a lot of the money is on the Rams. There's a lot of
Mhm.
money on the Rams right now, even though the Lions are favored by 3. Jason, what does Vegas know that we don't? How do you see this one going? Who do you think wins?
The Lions win this game. I think like you were saying with your key points on how to win in the playoffs. They have the most togetherness out of anyone, I think, in the whole NFL. So I think they put together a good game. The Rams are going to fight. It'll be close. Definitely a very close game. I think right around that 50 mark. I mean, like probably like 21-24 would be my guess. But it'll be close to that. But I think this is a hard fought game, definitely. But Lions come out victorious because they are together and playing as one.
And that 21-24 would be an exact wash on the spread. Is that what you think? Probably something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
Wash.
was
You're calling the wash on the
I'm
spread?
calling the wash.
All
I'm
right.
calling the wash.
nice.
I like it. I like it. Make sure. Write that down. Write that down. Jerry, who wins this one? And what do you see happening?
Yeah, I think the spread was 2.5 yesterday, and it moved to 3 this morning when I checked it. So I don't know. There's something to be said there. I agree with Jason. It's gonna be a tight game. It's gonna be really tight. I think this is gonna be the best game of the weekend. I think it's gonna honestly be a last second field goal wins this game. Whoever has the ball last wins this game. I think it's gonna be a little more high scoring than Jason's predicting. I think I think the winner gets to 30. I think it's going to be like 28-30. So I think the over does hit, but I think it's going to be pretty tight. Um, I think it's going to be one of those games. Both teams come out explosive in the first half. Both teams get to like 21-20, 21-17 in the first half, and then it kind of slows down as the game goes on. Like I said, whoever has the ball last ends up winning the game. So again, give me the man. It's a tough one, but I think the Lions pulled out at home for their first playoff game in quite a while. But give me the Rams on the spread.
I like it. Now, having considering I have the Lions in the Super Bowl with the Browns, the Lions are obviously winning this game. I don't think Dan Campbell. I think if you can be sure on one thing, the Lions will be ready to play. I think he's going to have everyone motivated. I think they're going to be flying around out there. I think the only issue that they could have is something that Jason brought up earlier is one of their weaknesses, and it is their defense and their inconsistency on defense. And it's not even so much like super bad play. It's just they don't have the guys back there that can compete necessarily with players like Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup and Kyron Williams up front. You know, I mean, they got Aiden Hutchinson. They have a decent defensive line, but
Mhm.
their team revolves around their offense. Having said all that, I think the Lions win. Actually, I think they cover, but I think it's still a close game. I think it's going to be within a touchdown, but I do think the Lions end up covering.
That being said, they are getting C.J. Gardner Johnson back this week, which
Oh,
is
okay.
huge. Which is
That's very
huge for
huge.
their secondary. So
It is massive. I didn't realize that. Well,
Mhm.
that helps for sure. Um, but that wraps up our Sunday games, and Sunday is going to be a fun day of watching playoff football. The playoffs are here, boys, and the last
playoffs.
game, playoffs,
We're talking about playoffs.
the last game of we got to clip that and make that like our intro or something. But
Well, can we do that for like every intro for like we have literally a playlist called playoffs.
that'd be cool. The last game of Super
Yep.
Wild Card Weekend is the Eagles at the Buccaneers. That is Monday night. The Eagles are getting 3 points on the road in Tampa. How?
I'm
Anyway,
shocked.
Jerry, what do you see happening in this game? It's interesting. I don't know whether or not them putting it on Monday night means that they're trying to be like, oh, everyone's really excited about this one, or people are like, yeah, oh, we're busy Monday night. We don't really care. We're not watching that one. I don't know. Interesting. I think you could have probably put the Packers Cowboys as the other primetime slot. But anyway, what do you see happening in this one?
I do think it's going to be an exciting game to watch. I think obviously a huge storyline is to see how the Eagles do back in the playoffs after making the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, they did not have the end of the season that they wanted, failed to win the division, slide into that fifth seed, and have to go on the road in the playoffs. How they are favorites on the road beats me. I think it has to do with Tampa Bay kind of reeling the last 2 weeks. Obviously, losing to the Saints did not look great and did not look good this weekend against the Panthers. Baker Mayfield rolled his ankle last week, was injured, came back in because he's one tough son of a gun. We all know that. Give me the Buccaneers on everything. Give me Baker Mayfield dominating the Eagles defense. The Eagles just suck, man. That team is not what they were last year. They're not what they were at the beginning of the season. AJ Brown is a diva. He wants out of there. He's got that locker room in turmoil right now. Give me Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Give me the boys. Give me all of it. Give me all of it. Give me
I love it.
Tampa.
Tampa. The one thing I will say,
Not
the
so fast, my friends.
all right, Lee. The one thing I will say that I find interesting. Okay, now again, you can't always extrapolate this out because the Buccaneers lost to the Eagles and the Browns beat the Texans and blah 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 blah. Whatever. Having said that, the Buccaneers and Texans played earlier this year, and it was one of the most fantastic games of the season,
Mhm.
where Baker Mayfield leads his team down to take a 4 point lead with a minute left, and then CJ Stroud then literally marches right down the field and wins with 10 seconds left on the clock. I mean, it was one of the most fantastic games, one of the most evenly matched games of the year, and that was right in the middle of CJ Stroud's hot streak, potential MVP, all of this stuff, right? So a team like Cleveland is going to play that team, and they're favored by 3 after winning 4 of the last 5 games. Or I'm sorry, for the last 6 games, but I don't count the Bengals game because those are all of our backups. The Eagles are favored against the other team in that matchup by 3 points when they've lost how many of the last 5 games. It's pretty absurd to me. But anyway, just food for thought. Interesting to parse out. Having said all that, Jason, how do you see this one going? Who wins?
Don't do it.
I'm doing it. Listen, 3 things we want to take from
They
this.
suck, dude. They suck.
Player, they do suck. Hear me out, though. Player only meeting. You have a guy like Jason Kelsey probably retiring after this game. I think you're going to get the best game that these guys have played since they've won. They
Right.
won a game, right? So another thing that I want to add on to how to win in the playoffs is your best players stepping up and playing their best games. So AJ Brown, Jason Kelsey, they're awful. Their whole offensive line. Their whole offensive line has not looked the same since the beginning of the year. I think they step up, they come together, play as a unit, and that just boosts the whole offense in general. Hopefully, with I, did Jalen Hurts play last week?
He did.
got
He
yanked.
He got
dislocated
hurt
his
though,
finger.
right?
He dislocated his finger.
Okay.
Came back in and got yanked because they sucked and lost to the
No,
Giants.
they got
No,
yanked because
yeah,
all their players got hurt, and he had dislocated his
his
finger.
finger. Yeah, agreed.
And he
That being
sucked.
said, uh, that being said, again, I think you're gonna get the best game out of these guys. They win this one barely. They cover, obviously. Well, they win by a field goal. I think. Again, I think this is a game that'll come down to the end, and they end up winning.
2 washes for the spread for Jason tonight. Pretty interesting. But give me the Eagles as well. Or I'm sorry. What is wrong with me? Give me the Buccaneers as
Dog.
well. Is what I meant to say. I'll do the old the Pat
Giant.
McAfee where the Eagles fly. But give me the Buccaneers. But no, I
Give
think
me Tampa.
I think Baker Mayfield is playing too well right now. He's not playing particularly great like in the last couple games, but what I mean by that is like there was a moment in the Panthers game where he got hit a little bit after the whistle, and Tristan Wirfs was ready to literally take his like. I don't care how suspended I get. Like I'm beating the crap out of you. Like that's how much respect that they have for him in this locker room. He's extremely tough. He's very gritty, and I think that their team kicks the dog while it's down. The Eagles they're just in shambles and they've limped their way into the playoffs because they started so hot, but I don't think they do anything. I think they're one and done. And that is our wrap up for Super Wildcard Weekend. I can't wait to watch it. I really can't. This is the most excited I've been for a playoffs since 2020. I wonder why. But it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be awesome.
There was some other, well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There was some other switching gears a little bit, championships and playoffs that concluded this weekend, and that was the national championship. The Michigan Wolverines beat the Washington Husky. Oh, geez, did you have to make it that
So
big?
big,
It's
dude.
so gross. In
Hail
the
to
The
the
word? Oh
victor.
Okay.
heck no. No.
Michigan defeats Washington in the Wumbo Bowl, and I guess we kept it set to M for many, and Michigan ended up winning the game. Jerry, what in this game was exciting to you? I think for me personally, I thought Washington they beat themselves, and then Michigan finally at the end of the game were able to take advantage. But what other key things did you see happen in this one?
Yeah, this Michael Penix that played on Monday is not a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
The Michael Penix that played in the semifinals against Texas is a Heisman Trophy winner. That's the biggest difference. Also, Washington didn't know that halfback dive was a play in the playbook apparently because they couldn't stop it. 103 yards on the ground for the Michigan Wolverines.
The same
Donovan
play.
Edwards had 3 carries for like 90 yards and 2 touchdowns at some point in the first half. Unreal. Just if you
Dude,
can't stop the run, dog, you're not gonna win a national championship. Unfortunately, like you said, Washington beat themselves. Just
go
drop
find a new
balls.
middle linebacker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Go
real,
find a new middle
for real.
linebacker. That man looked
Transfer
lost.
portal's
Yeah,
open.
yeah.
That man
What
looked
I
lost.
Drop balls. Michael Penix had a couple of missed throws, and yeah, unfortunately, just Michigan just ran it down their throats. Man, it was insane.
Go ahead, Jason.
Pressure. They were able to get consistent pressure on Michael Penix. That man was beat up by the end of the game. Probably had a couple broken ribs. That man was fighting for his life. All right, I'm fighting for my life. Like
I mean, that's what they did against Jalen Milrow. That's how they beat Alabama.
that exactly. I mean, that's even against quote unquote the best passing offensive line in the nation. They were able to get pressure. So I think that's kudos to recruiting that Harbaugh has done in the last couple of years in getting key pieces in depth settled. So, congrats to the team up north.
Yeah, and the two things I'll say, the first being in response to the pressure they were able to get on Michael Penix and Jalen Milrow in the playoffs and the semifinal as well as the national championship. They don't have an Aiden Hutchinson. They don't have what Ohio State had a while ago, like in the Bosa's or whatever. They don't have someone who's getting to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds, but they all rush in their lanes and their interior drives those centers and guards back into the lap of the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback, which just forces someone like Penix, who is so good at manipulating the pocket, especially the edge rushers, and stepping up into his throws. He has nowhere to go. So you saw a little bit of that. I think the other big thing, sort of the momentum of the game, was kind of the same as the semifinal in that Michigan got out to a hot start and they were very downhill. They looked to be dominating in that first quarter. And then Washington starts to gain a little bit of momentum back, and this is exactly what happened with Alabama in the half, and especially into the third quarter. And in this one, I thought more in the back end of the second quarter. I really thought that Washington was going to make a run and tie this game. And what ended up happening, their defense gave them, I want to say, 5 or 6 opportunities to go in and potentially tie this game. And every single time it came down to Penix either overthrowing a the three big ones that stick out in my mind are the Penix overthrow on the first big drive. There was a big massive drop, and then there was a completed pass for about 60 or 50 yards, but came back from a questionable holding call. And that right there was 3 opportunities you could have gone down and scored. One of them was a walk. If Penix doesn't miss Roma Dunzier, that's a
Mhm.
walk-in touchdown.
Yep.
A walk-in touchdown to tie the game, but it ended up not happening. Michigan was able to hold on and win eventually in very convincing fashion, and they are the national champions. So I guess congratulations or whatever.
Go Big Ten though. You know,
Yeah.
Both
And,
teams
and all Big
Exactly.
officially
Ten
now in the
national
Big Ten.
championship. Yeah.
Go Big Ten.
Would have been
Yeah.
really cool to see the Pac-12 win the national championship in their last
In the
year.
last year, yeah, it would have been fun. But alas, that's not what happened. In other big news, I think the only other big news, well, real quick, still in Michigan, is Jim Harbaugh leaving? Yes or no, Jerry?
Yeah, I think he's done what he set out to accomplish: win a national championship, get Michigan back on top. He's heading to the NFL. He's got to one up his brother.
He doesn't have
Jason,
to one up his brother. He has to run away from these allegations before you go catch the face. Yes, he's going to the NFL. Unfortunately, I think if he didn't have these cases around him, he would. I'm not unfortunately, but for Ohio State fans. But yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
thank goodness he is gone. It makes me very happy. He will finish, if he does leave, his tenure at Michigan with a losing record against Ohio State, which makes me extremely, extremely happy. He will finish 3-5. So pretty amazing stuff there. Good riddance and congratulations to Jim Harbaugh. The only other really exciting, I say, in the sense that it's big news in college football is I don't think we have a graphic for this one because I just found out, but Nick Saban is officially retiring. He will no longer be the head coach for the Crimson Tide after 17 years. Another one to celebrate about in some sense, I will say, though, probably the greatest college football coach of all time.
Oh yeah,
6 national championships. Is that right?
6 is correct.
6. Yep.
6 national championships and made it to several others. You're talking about a guy who has put Alabama as the team to beat. I mean, honestly, without Nick Saban's previous experience, do you think that Alabama makes it into the CFP this year? Probably not.
Oh,
And
no.
Oh,
and
everybody counted them out after they lost to Texas. They thought the season was over. Lo and behold, he's back in the playoffs playing against Michigan and
yeah,
had a
and
very,
dang
very
near
good chance
could
to
have won
win the
that
One
game.
game.
play
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
Could have won that game, and so it's in some respect it's a celebration of an amazing career of the greatest college football coach of all time, and it's sad to see the peak, the best, the greatest, the goat uh, retire, but while he's on top. So
Yeah. What a career.
What a career. Salute to you, but good riddance to all of our ops.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Watch out for them
we're
Buckeyes.
back, baby.
Yeah, we're back. Um, No, I heard that's why he's quote unquote retiring. He's going to come be the head coach for the Buckeyes. No, I'm just kidding.
Imagine.
Yeah.
He's like, gotta go back to my
Gotta
shit.
go. Yeah, exactly. Gotta go back. It's amazing if you think about it how many people have gone through both the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Cleveland Browns
Yeah,
and
Mm.
have had so much success in their career. It's pretty incredible. But
incredibly painful, probably. Too,
yeah,
Yeah.
but
but
congratulations to Nick Saban on a great career. Congratulations again to Michigan. And I can't wait for the super wild card weekend this weekend. It's going to be amazing. Hopefully, the Browns continue on to the divisional round. But this has been our show this week. We appreciate everyone for joining. Uh, we hope to see you again next week. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on our social media. Tell us why we're right. Tell us why Jerry's wrong. You know, it's going to be a fun weekend.
Bring me
before
all
we
the
go,
heat.
shout out to Pete Carroll as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
we didn't
really didn't
mention
talk
some of
about
the coaches.
any. Yeah.
We can talk about that. I think once the
Another
off
day.
season starts, there's a lot more compelling football to be played before we settle. I think on people that got fired on Black Monday, but um,
There's gonna be a
I,
lot more to come too. I think.
yeah, there's gonna be
Oh yeah,
more to
Yeah.
come, and it's been a plethora of firings. But anyway, uh, we'll talk about that at a later date. We will see you guys next week again. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, follow us at Unnamed Sports S. We're on social media, and we hope to see you next week. Thanks.
Peace out.
later.